Recording 40 seconds in.
All right.
All right, buddy. Kick it off.
What's going on, everybody? This is Ryan from Detroit. Just kidding. What's going on, brother?
What's up, man? How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good.
We need.
Beautiful day out today.
It is a beautiful day. It's a beautiful day to start a podcast, actually.
It is. It is a beautiful day to start a podcast. You want for the audience? Why don't you give them a little rundown of how the setup is?
Oh, yeah. So, hey, we're starting a podcast, kind of restarting a podcast, but we're starting a podcast in the middle of this crisis. This pandemic. So we can't really meet. So I'm at my home office, as you can see in frame here, with my beautiful Shure VP83 for you tech nerds out there. But I am on my AirPods talking with the one and only Eric Jennings on this side or this side. I don't know which way yet. And you are recording at your home.
Yeah, I'm at home. So I'm actually on my back porch because I wanted to get the sun in today. I've got my Lumix G9 up on a tripod stand. I got the Rode Wireless Go set up. So on my chest, you guys can see the little fur kitten hanging out there. It's not my hairy chest. It's actually just the wind screen thing.
Yeah, that's pretty gross.
We're doing this remote on the back porch.
We've got to do it remote, man. That's the world we live in today, which is also kind of a perfect segue into why the Honchos and why now? Why are we starting this? Why are we getting this ball rolling again, homie?
That is a good point. I mean, so you want to talk real quick about like where we are now with Honchos restarting, or do you want to go back to the beginning? How do you want to take this for these guys?
Let's do 2.0. Let's start 2.0, man. We can get back into the history at some point, but the why behind now, like you and I talking about this for too long, and why are we getting started now? You want to take it?
Well, how about this? I'll give a little context, but what we're doing right now as a starting point, and then you can go back to the why. So what we're doing right now, just as a small segue, Ryan and I are working on, you and I are working on doing some video production for a local brake automotive recruiter, right? So I'm on the on-face personality for that particular job, and you're in the background with a lot of like the ideas, and you help me film some stuff, or you were the producer. You're doing thumbnails and stuff like that. And at the end of these videos, we're putting Honcho Media Production because we want to take this bigger and broader. So let me use that as a segue over to you, because I think that's you have a better like dream or vision way of telling this. So you take that.
Yeah, I mean, we're not going to go back too far, but like you were saying, Eric, we've always had these ideas. We always go back and forth on what if, right? Like what if this, what if that? And realistically, where we're at today, given the current climate, what's going on, the opportunities that have kind of presented themselves on the brake side, like you said, kind of our old careers kind of meshing into the new, if you will. It's just given us opportunity, and I think there's some inspiration there to really just have open communication, open dialogue around purpose, right? Around all of the things that people are dealing with. There's so much we could cover off on in these times, but also to kind of blend in the tech side of things that we love to talk about every day, talk about our families, talk about faith, talk about all the things that matter to us and that matter to other people and seem to get other people interested. And we've done it under the Honchos banner, because that's kind of where you and I got our start on all this stuff back in the academia days, teaching at the university, trying to start small companies, just looking at ways that you and I could work together and be together. So now we're just kind of thinking 2.0 and saying, you know what if we just try to contribute value? That's all we've really been focused on in the past anyways. Let's just figure out a way to contribute value, give people something they can chew on, they can be inspired by, and if there's anything that good that comes out of it, then we've done our job, right? I mean, that's really what it comes down to.
Yeah, and from an inspiration standpoint, I mean, it can be anywhere from like business inspiration, faith inspiration, family inspiration, tech, right? Like, and even what we're doing now, I mean, you hear a lot of stuff around like Gary Vee and everybody say like during this time especially create, and I'm 110% in on that. Like Agreed. I have 2 YouTube channels. I'm doing this stuff with you and I and Honcho Media. I'm randomly dropping videos on LinkedIn like you are. I mean, it's important to create, and I think this being our thing, right? Like where you and I can, outside the constraints of a business or somebody else telling us what they want to see or how they want to see it, is kind of where we want to take this.
Yeah, and I think too, I was thinking back on the video that we issued, we sent out a couple days ago with our current company in the software space that we work. Like, getting buy-in and getting approval and feedback from the marketing teams that are trying to figure out how to message these things,
Yeah.
in a positive light in these times, like that I think even fed us both, right? Like we posted those videos yesterday, edited on Monday, and just the feedback, overwhelmingly internal and the external feedback, and engagement that we received showed that people want to see the human element. They want to see and understand what people are doing. Like how do you feel in these times? How are you getting by? And I feel like
Yeah.
those walls are coming down, man. Like all the video conferences, all the things that we've participated in over the past month. Like you and I have been used to that from a software startup standpoint, but most
Right.
people in the corporate world aren't. So I think that's a big part of it. Like trying to pull the masses into what you and I are familiar with or have become familiar with so that they can see the value in that too.
Why don't you tell them a little bit for context so they know no one knows what we're doing here? Why don't you tell them a little bit about what we're doing with our current employer?
Yeah.
Because we're both not in marketing. That's not our gig to do that. And how
Yeah.
you kind of came to our marketing team at the corporate level with this idea and with this video that we dropped yesterday. It's one of several to come around like trying to show. Well, go ahead. Just tell them what it is.
Yeah. So Eric and I were talking a lot about how do we add value to people, right? Like when we back up, get away from sales, get away from product, get away from service, how do we just add value to the human cause, if you will, like to people? And one of the things that we talked about and kind of riffed on and came up with is we love video, we love creating, we love content. How do we what's the best way to focus in on an audience or create an audience that can get the most out of us? And right now, what people need more than anything is hope. They need inspiration. They need to know things are going to be okay. They need to know like we're people too, and we don't want to just sell you a product or a service. We want to be there for you. We want to support you. We want to build
Right.
authentic relationships. So we went to marketing to get this idea spun up to say, hey, what if we can pull all of these salespeople and other colleagues and employees that don't have to work in sales? What if we pull them together? And what if we set the standard and this template to say everyone post a 10 to 15 second video or record it? We'll edit it together so that it just shows the human side of the people behind our company. And we did that. We got, I think there was about 6 or 7 people in total that really contributed. Yeah, on the first one. But man, like everyone overwhelmingly saw the feedback. And the first theme was like, introduce your coworkers, like your new coworkers, right? So, dude, your video was the initial part, like the beginning part of the edit that kicked it off. And seeing your little guy in there and your little girl, like that was just, it made me smile, right? So
Yeah.
like
It's building relatability with people in a non-salesy way to like kind of almost like say, hey, here's the culture of our company, right? Like we're all here with you, we relate to you, and we're here to help you, right? And like, by the way, here's my son who's 2, and here's my daughter who's 11, and we're all managing the same things you are, right? It's building that, and I think it was really cool that you brought that up to our company, like the people that are being paid for marketing, and they took that idea and ran with it, and I think it's going to be an overwhelming success. The first video, I think, was overwhelming success.
Yeah.
It's just, I think that stuff's cool. So back to like tying this back into what we're doing here, I mean, I don't know, how do you see that tie in for you?
it's like you and I have thought so much in the past before we got here to our current software gig that we're doing, as like what side gig, what side opportunity can we create together? So number one, we can work together because we love working together. And we've worked together at a company. We've went our separate ways, still stayed in contact almost daily, came back together, same company. But it was kind of like initially to keep us together. And then the second thing was, how do we just focus on value add for people? Like how can we help people get better experience, learn from our stories? How can we add value to those people, like to the audience that's listening to this or watching this? And more than anything, number 3, I think, especially now, like how do we cut through all the noise, right? There's so much garbage out there. There's so much noise. Yeah. There's so much like, but wait, at the end, like we're going to bring you into our free course and like get your email address and sell you on this and like all this stuff. And like, I get it. People have to eat and they have to make money, but you and I are in a situation where we can focus on this just from a value add standpoint and just, I guess, give away to people, give until people come back and realize the value of what we're given.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, you're talking about value, and maybe this is the punchline. I'm getting there a little early for this conversation,
Right.
But I know that we don't want to make this an overly drawn out thing. From a value perspective, right, to your point is give. And if you're doing it around something you're genuine about, and if you're being sincere, and you're doing something you love to do, like making content or whatever it is, it's going to add value to people. There's going to be people that can relate to that, and it's going to feed you and it help spawn other ideas. There's just so much there. It's the reason why a lot of these like new, the Gary V's of the world, I keep using him as an example, but it's why people like that keep telling you to do stuff like this, because as you and I have seen, you go out and do something for free, pro bono, like on your back, with your gear, with your equipment, with no strings attached, there's going to be return somewhere. And it's not to say that you're doing it for that reason in particular, but it's just the whole message of value is like what this is all about. And so like giving to people listening to this, if you're afraid of people judging you, do something to give out to people for free that has little return to you besides like maybe something you're interested in. So if it's a blog, it's a vlog. It's, I don't know, just whatever it is, man. It could be artwork, it could be photography, whatever it is. Like that's the value really, is to feed something that's important to you. And then like there will be return on the back end where you can help people and people will feel like, they can help you as well.
Yeah, and I think one thing that makes this like what we're doing right now, I think what makes this a little bit different than past is we've always been so focused as we've built like on experience, on value, but it's like what can we build that can yield something in the next 6 months or in the next 3 months? And I think what we're doing now is what can we do that's just long-term and sustainable to add value to your point? Like what's the long game, right? How do we do enough and give enough and provide enough? So sort of like if I go back to the LinkedIn days, man, like two and a half years ago when we started on LinkedIn video and it was just fresh and there's still a lot of real estate there to be kind of gobbled up. But it was just creating a brand and having a voice that could cut through the noise and high quality produced content, because you and I, that's kind of our background now, right? Like we love making sure the quality is good and solid, but the story obviously matters more. But being able to take all those things, push them together for something that you and I are passionate about, which is focusing on people. I think for me, that's the whole thing. And especially in these times when you have people reaching out all over social media, friends, family, old acquaintances and colleagues, like looking for value, looking for hope, looking for a voice of reason in the midst of all this chaos. Sometimes it's around camera equipment, which we've helped people out on. Sometimes it's around faith. Sometimes it's around careers and like helping people network and drive connections, like all of the above. So that's what this is about, just like driving that value.
And the other thing too, Ryan, like I think you would agree with this, is that we're starting on that premise, right?
Yep.
And I think that's like the foundation for whatever comes after. But I think we'd all be lying to each other if we said, we know exactly how this is going to end. We know exactly what's going to come out of this. Like I think as you do more and more and you contribute more and more stuff pops up and comes up, and like it starts pivoting its way into like an even more defined I guess, outcome.
Yeah.
Or like role where you can like do something, right? Like, so we do this and 5 people watch the first one and then it grows and it grows and it grows. But then somebody reaches out for help and says, hey, you start building what this actually is because you had a core foundation around value. And I think that's like what we're after.
Totally agree. I mean, I think back on our buddy Pete, right? Like he was already on the road. Like he was already in hook, line, and sinker. But I think just our conversations, which is what we want all this to become anyways, is just a true, authentic conversation that ends up in a real relationship. But I just think just an extra boost, like we've all been there, we've all needed that, we've all done that, where you've got an idea or you have this like inspirational thought that you want to act on, but either you don't know tactically how to get there, like how do you execute? Sometimes you don't know how to take the first step, like you're scared, you're nervous. When it comes down to all these small businesses we've done, or even jumping from fully manufacturing, supply chain, automotive space into like software sales and technology space, like 2 completely different areas. They do overlap in some spaces, but like all of those things where some people are like, how'd you even do that? Right. So just being able to provide a perspective that would help encourage people to take a leap sometimes, whether it's within their current company to a different role or different position of leadership or whatever it is. I think we've got good perspective on that because we've gone through so many different, we've been through so many different opportunities that we've taken, not for granted, but we've really said, hey, we'll take it and run with it. So I think we can help there, and then we can make it super interesting too, and talk about some other small things in that we're going through, or what we're tools that we're using.
You said something, and maybe you want to give a little background story for this as part of the show, like what we're doing here. but like you have a brand on LinkedIn, and you were really heavy on it for a while with the Ryan from Detroit brand, right? That's kind of your name, like everywhere.
Yeah.
And I think even you were surprised, even though you kind of knew this could be happening, but you were surprised by the amount of people that you were actually impacting as they started to reach out to you, or like they came and stopped you and said, hey, I know you, almost like you had some little miniature celebrity status or value impact to people you didn't even know.
Yeah,
right? Like I think there's been a connections with that, and it's what it's done. I mean, if you think about like the job you have is because of that, and
For sure.
other people you've met is because, you know what I'm saying? Like
Absolutely.
Going back to the value side of things, I don't know if you want to talk about like how you maybe were surprised by how many people you were actually impacting.
Yeah, I think that the big thing for me was let me go back a little bit. So when it comes down to like the Honchos, right? When we think about that name, like you and I, it invokes an emotion or several emotions going through like, oh yeah, the initial concept. And then when it came to academics, and man, we had a good run there and that was fun. And the Apple Watch is like all these stories that we'll talk about. Right. But I think the whole point, and something I was thinking about leading up into this episode, the show today, was identity. Like the way my brain works is very, very visual. I'm very creative, and I love to think about the creative side and create those brand identities and sort of market things in, even if it's like for my own pleasure and no one else is even seeing it. Hence the name, the Honchos, our logos, all that kind of stuff. When I think about identity and you and I doing this, like, could we have gone into the university and try to do those things anyways? Yeah, like we didn't need a brand name. We didn't need a logo. But part of the fun of it is having an identity that we share together. Like, this is who we are, right? This is how the world knows us. So even when we're teaching those classes, like the deans would be like, hey, go talk to the Honchos. Like, that's how people knew us. It's the same thing on the Ryan from Detroit brand, where as I started going through the video and started building that up and just had little milestones in my mind of like, hey, if I still like this, it still feels right, and I still have peace in it, I'm going to keep going. Like from the beginning, I like to brand things because it gives it an identity and a leg, kind of some legs of its own. And that part to me is as exciting as like 10,000 followers or whatever, because you've built something and you can watch that thing like grow, even if there's no dollars attached to it or no transactions. It's just an emotional thing. That's Exodus Sandals. That's the Honchos. That's the Ryan from Detroit brand. And I think from that standpoint, like everyone could probably nod their head up and down when we say that, because they all get it. Like, I want to be a part of something bigger than myself. And when that brand kind of becomes bigger than one person, I think that's where when the fun begins. And I think that's what we're doing here on this show.
Yeah, I mean, people preach it all the time. Brand, right? Like you talk about when economies get tough, like big companies, right? Like what survives are the iconic brands for the most part, unless they've been like severely mismanaged and, kind of sold themselves out along the way. I mean, the big brands, having a brand behind you is what you want to do. That's on a big company perspective.
Yep.
But to like start, right? Like the name Ryan from Detroit, the one that you jokingly kind of started with, but then it felt right and stuck with.
Yeah.
Dude, everyone knows you that way. Like, and you of all people put it everywhere. It's like in our internal company Slack channel.
Yeah.
Like it's everywhere, right? But it sticks, man. So like people know it, they don't forget it. I don't have that presence on LinkedIn. It's just my name, and I think that's a little bit of a mistake on my end if I can even go there with it. But I don't want to be
DJ EJ, bro. It needs to be DJ EJ.
DJ
EJ. I'm telling you. Yeah. Trust me on that.
I DJ'd one wedding off like an iPad. And now he thinks I'm DJ EJ.
But dude, that's like most people don't. I won't go deep, but that most people don't know the story of Ryan from Detroit, where it was a joke. Like my wife and her girlfriends in 2005 in Maui, when I got lost in a car, like we were totally sober, and like driving around late at night trying to get back to our place. Like I ended up in a guard shack and said, like, he's like, hello, how can I help you? I'm like, hi, I'm Ryan from Detroit, because in my mind I was like, I don't want this guy to think like I'm driving around like intoxicated or something like that. And like the girls from then on, like anytime anything funny, because I did grow up in the ghetto when I was younger, like at a young age or whatever, like I would joke. They're like, well, of course you're Ryan from Detroit. So it's more of like a poke at me and a joke. And then of course, eventually it formulates and it fits. But like every time people say Ryan from Detroit, I don't think like cool name. I think like, yeah, that one time in Maui. And like, so when I think DJ EJ, bro, I think of like, how much fun it was that you're just like, I'm going to go and like buy this app on this iPad, throw some speakers up, and I'm going to DJ a wedding. And you did a great job. And like, so I mess with you about it, but it sticks for me because it's has the same kind of connotation of like, what that is. Like, and you could do anything with it, but
Plus, you like totally capitalize, right? Like, gives you context to where you are. And like Detroit is an up and coming city, or it was before this potential recession we're about to go into. So it has like this cool, trendy vibe feel to it too. I don't know, it just worked out real well for you. But branding is important. So we've talked about value, talked about branding. I feel like this podcast is going everywhere, but that's
all
kind of
good.
how our conversations go.
It's great, man.
Good.
Well, it's great because I think at some point when we get this figured out and like we can get some other people in and call in and kind of that kind of thing. However, if we see this thing going, but the one thing I want to make clear about this show is that it can go everywhere. Like you can see me and like you can see Eric, you can see behind me, like this is my domain. This is where I'm working. This is where I'm like drinking coffee and like got my little sticker, the Ryan from Detroit sticker on my bottle here. Like I got my lunch here, right? Like this is where we kind of happen to do our work and some of our best creative work at home. So we don't want this to be polished. We want it to be real and authentic, right. And just to really help people out. And like, we'll take emails. You tell us what you want to know. Tell us what you want to talk about. Like we're happy to cover off on some of that stuff, but hopefully we know our audience enough to, as it develops, that we can answer questions because we want to talk about gear. We can go deep on gear. Want to talk about film photography, like we could talk about film photography, right? Like there's so much we could talk about, but you want to talk about leadership, sales leadership, talk about like one thing I want to get into in a later episode, Eric, is you starting a business, right? In college on the lawn care side. Yeah. And like that's a business that so many people could do it if they had the push and the desire. And like, I know it from my neighborhood where most people get their lawn cut, because there's really good pricing. Like I know these guys and I know how it doesn't take a lot to get it started, but it's all about relationship. It's all about brand, right? Like what we're talking about. So at some point down the road, I want you to talk about that. I think it'd be good.
I don't know about you, but my camera has a 30-minute record limit. I'm sure yours does too.
Yeah.
Mr. Sony.
Yeah. I love you, Sony.
We'll talk about your weird brand affiliation there, but
Okay.
or my weird actually mine's probably more weird in a later episode, but I know I have like 7 minutes left of record time before we run out.
Okay.
And we should probably shut this down, but I don't know. You want like let's talk about so these guys can understand what to expect. Like how are we going to continue this moving forward? Like what can these guys expect that we're going to watch this in terms of like weekly, like every other week, every twice a week? Like what do you think? What do you kind of envision for this? How it goes?
Well, you and I talked about it, right? And I think the way that you and I work is we come up with a lot of ideas and then the execution part's hard. I'm going to knock on I was going to knock on the mic, but I'm going to knock on the lens. Hello? Anyone out there? You guys feel the same way? Because we all hear it from all the big entrepreneurs. Like you can have a million ideas and someone else had the same million ideas or similar ideas, but executing on those ideas is the most difficult part. So when Eric 100%. And I talked about this a day or two ago, we're like, when do we want to do it? And we're like, let's start tomorrow. We're like, really? We got these tight schedules. We're like, let's just, like, you were like, well, we'll just, book it. Like, we'll schedule it in because if we don't, we're going to end up waiting and we're not going to end up getting there. So with that said, I think we should definitely schedule weekly, like the weekly show. And if we want to add some detail in between, that'd be great too. But we should start off right now, I think, probably middle of the week. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so too. Oh, actually, you know what? This is the reality of things. Come here, buddy. Come here. Come see Dad. My little man just got out of a bath. Come here.
Yeah.
Come here. Can I put you on camera?
What is that?
That's a tripod. Come here.
What is that?
That's camera up there.
This camera up there. You want to look right here? Look you're on camera now. So this is my son, Easton. To your point, Ryan, to finish that off, yes, once a week, midweek, I think is that what you said? Once a week, midweek?
Once a week, midweek, man. I think it's great.
All right, so my little man just popped in. So that's the reality of things, right? As we do this.
For sure.
You're going to have my son handing me microphones and things saying, here you go, Dad, here you go, Dad. But it's going to be real. It's going to be real, and we're going to talk about real conversations, real family stuff.
For sure.
It's going to be fun.
Yeah, and I think too, like as we get better at this, because we're just getting started, we can start throwing it out there on Twitter and on some of the socials, like what we're going to talk about or the main topic, right? As we start to develop this stuff, just so that people can tune in if they're interested, and not if they're not. But there's so much, man. Like I'm thinking back again. You started businesses at a young age, like in the lawn care space. Like I started a wedding photography business and a sandal company business, and then we got together in the academic world, like in automotive and sales and like engineering and And then all this creative stuff. Like there's so many areas that we've gone into. So many different paths that we've taken, and some have converged and some have been independent. But I think that's kind of the whole point, is to be curious. And I think our curiosity, like if we share the results of that curiosity with people, whether it was good or whether it was there was some pitfalls, I think it could help people and help inspire them to want to at least reach out, step out, and do more with their time and with their abilities, which would be a win for all of us, right?
No, 100%. I agree. So I think riffing on all these things that might interest people. I think a lot of our interests are common with other people as well. So there's gonna be a lot of stuff there, in terms of like business and tech and stuff like that. So this is fun, man. I got 3 minutes till I shut my camera down, but plus I have another meeting, by the way.
Yeah, same here. Same here. I got a big one coming up.
Yeah, but I want to say thank you to anyone who watches this. This is just an intro episode, kind of laying the groundwork of what's to come, and I'm looking forward to doing this because this is gonna be a lot of fun.
Same here. And just for context, like I totally exercised, worked out, cleaned up before this, and like I'm still sweating from the workout, and my face is a little bit bright because of the lights. I just saw one of my family members in the window there. It's probably my wife. She never knows that she's on camera when she's on like these video conferences, which is kind of fun too. But my point is, you never know what you're going to get with us because we go so many different places. But one thing's consistent. We love to talk about creativity. We love to talk about our family, right? And we love to talk about faith. So you're going to get all that from us, and hopefully it can inspire you to do more. So, hey, dude, we got to figure out a sign off here, homie. Like, I don't want to say go Honchos because that's weird.
Honcho me, bro.
Honcho me, bro. I was thinking the same thing, dude. Like the same thing. All right, so with that, we appreciate you all being here. We appreciate all the support, and until next time. Go ahead, say it, bro.
Honcho me, bro.
Honcho me, bro. Can we be like, honcho me, bruh?
I'm going to high five the lens.
Okay, honcho me, bro.
Yeah. Okay, there you go.
Thanks, dude. That's great.